But one promise kept me from breaking. If we ever meet again, I swear I'll remember you. Mom, Cece will remember too. Good girl. So will all of us. Then, at last, midnight struck. For pairs of hands shoved me toward the iron gate. Blinding white light swallowed everything. Suddenly, for tender voices called after me at once. Take good care of yourself. Don't be afraid. We'll meet again. Congratulations, player Ning Nian. You have cleared the House of Happiness instance. First clear achievement unlocked. Bonus reward. 500 points. I ignored the mechanical voice, staring greedily at the blurred figures beyond the light. My gaze fixed on that one silhouette. Tears stained the corners of his eyes. As he smiled at me, I cupped my hands around my mouth. I've decided. Your name?
Ning Nian.
Across 10,000 miles, only thinking of Junin's peace.
Ning Nian.
Then I will lose you forever. If that's the case, it's better if you lose me for a short while first. As soon as the words left his lips, the man suddenly reached into his chest and pulled out a heart of happiness, tossing it toward the black gate before him. As it flew toward the door, the lock suddenly turned into a giant monster head, swallowing it whole. The mechanical voice seemed stunned, its tone tinged with an inexplicable fear. May I ask the other noble entities if you are willing to offer your hearts of happiness to help your family open this otherworldly gate? Yes. In fact, the key to open the door is the heart of the entity family members, and it must be a so-called heart of happiness. Fang Yuan and Su Xiaoma looked pleadingly at their entity family members. Sorry, our hearts aren't red. They aren't hearts of happiness. When players are role-playing, they usually act out of fear and endurance to complete the tasks. Therefore, after 7 days, the hearts of the entities never found true happiness. That is the cruelty of this instance. Would the players like to feed the key to open the otherworldly gate? Only until 12 tonight. You have 1 hour left. Otherwise, you will be lost in this instance forever. But the keyholes on the door are heart-shaped. It looks like they won't fit. I crouched on the ground, feeling defeated, resting my chin in my hand. Oh, what should I do? Without a key, I can't go back. I can stay here with you forever. I'm so happy. Ning Nian, you guessed what the key was. That's why you were so resistant, right? But you don't know. If you get lost here, you won't become one of us entities. You'll just become a wisp of black mist. They have no emotion, no consciousness, no thought. They aren't even considered things. Congratulations, player Ning Nian, for earning the affection of all residents of the House of Happiness. The otherworldly gate has been successfully summoned. The gate will appear tonight at 11 p.m. Surviving players, please proceed to the first floor with your family. Otherwise, you will be permanently lost in this instance. The live stream comments erupted in excitement. We're about to witness history, the first clear of the House of Happiness. But, thinking about leaving, I don't seem as happy as I thought I'd be. 11 p.m. The 4 guardians led me to the first floor. The first floor courtyard wall, once impenetrable, now stood open, with 3 ancient black gates. Each door held a different number of locks. Mine had 4, the student had 1, the fitness coach had 2. The players' names were written on the doors, with their horror values marked below.
Mine, Ning Nian.
Horror value 0. The students.
Su Xiaoma.
Horror value 99.9. The fitness coaches. Fang Yuan. Horror value 90. Being able to eat with everyone like this, I'm truly happy. Yes, as long as you're happy, we are happy. We will always protect you. Thank you all. Silly, we're family. How happy the day was, yet how short a single day is. After dinner, night fell. The old woman in black waved her arm, tracing sparks across the night sky. Like fireworks, I quickly showered her with praise. Mom, you're amazing. Can I? Good grief, you still have to ask about this? Do you really want a girl to make the first move? This is so embarrassing. I quickly stood on my tiptoes, draped my arms over his shoulders, and bit his lip hard. Then, I slowly deepened the kiss. After the intimacy, the Headless Boss pressed a card into my hand. 30 cards. Collect them all. I looked at the patterns on the cards, piecing them together, following the lines. I quickly arranged them on the ground. Mom, Cece doesn't want to leave you either, but Cece wants you to live a vivid life even more, even if Cece isn't in that place. The old man and old woman did the same, unlocking my 3rd and 4th locks. Good girl. If one day you meet my child, tell him that it wasn't his fault the hydrant was dry, and tell my child that his father was a great hero who saved people, not some old pervert. Good girl. Please don't be jealous. You are like a newborn child to us. Dad and Mom will always love you. My tears fell drop by drop. Suddenly, the pitch-black iron gate behind me crashed open, erupting in a blinding white light. I'm still severely nearsighted, but this time, I lunged straight toward them and held them as tightly as I could. Through my tears, I asked, without your hearts, will you die? The Headless Boss held me tightly. No, we'll only lose all our memories and get thrown into some unknown instance to work. What? What kind of bullshit heart of happiness is this? Isn't that just the heart of a living person? I have one too. Fang Yuan didn't dare attack an entity, so while Su Xiaoma wasn't paying attention, he threw her whole body toward his own gate. One of the locks on Fang Yuan's door instantly transformed into a giant monster head and swallowed the screaming Su Xiaoma in one bite, skin, bones, and all, leaving nothing behind. I didn't even have time to stop him. Fang Yuan then turned his crazed gaze on me, as if he wanted to throw me in two. Cici stood silently to the side.
Radiating à dangereux aura.
Something red began swirling through the air. Crimson droplets were everywhere, staining her white dress red. Cici whispered into the crimson haze, "I wanted to be a good girl before mommy left, but you just had to ask for death." Then, she lifted her cute little face and smiled. She raised her pale arm and swiftly pulled out her own heart, tossing it toward the second lock on my door. When I first entered the horror game, my severe nearsightedness left everything a blur. I walked straight into a terrifying boss. The other players nearly collapsed from fear, but I reached out instead and grabbed his abs, marveling, "Nice body. Too bad you're a little short." The boss laughed in disbelief. He put the severed head in his hand back on his neck and said with a wicked grin,
I'm 1,86 meter tall.
"Take another look now. Welcome to the House of Happiness instance. Survive here for 7 days to clear the instance. Starting players, 30. Players alive, 30. Enjoy the game." After dying in a car crash, a flash of white light brought me to the front of a tall building. An eerie mechanical voice sounded in my ears. Because I'm severely nearsighted, beyond 3 meters, I can barely tell a person from an animal. I couldn't make out the building or what anyone around me actually looked like. All I could see were vague silhouettes. Where am I? I want to go home. Who's behind this? Let me out of here. A calm-looking man and woman stepped forward. They introduced themselves as veteran players, Sister Hong and Brother June. This is an infinite horror game. Everyone dragged into it is already dead. If you clear every instance and save up the legendary 9,999 points, you can come back to life. Then how many points do you get for clearing one instance? That depends on your horror value when you clear it. If you finish with a horror value of 99, you only get 1 point. If it reaches 100, you die immediately. Horror value is exactly what it sounds like. How afraid you are. Once veteran players learn the game, they can usually keep it below 60. New players, on the other hand, have it rough. Then what if I clear it with a horror value of 0? Would I get 100 points? The moment I said that, somewhere I couldn't see, everything I did was being live streamed. Countless viewers mocked me in the comments. Even though no one had ever cleared this instance, the players before us had still managed to learn a few things. The building has 30 floors, with 1 apartment and 1 player per floor. The House of Happiness is actually a role-playing horror instance. Every apartment has several entities living inside. They'll play different close family roles for the player. You'll eat and live with them for 7 days, so how could your horror value not swing wildly? Brother June quickly cut Sister Hong off and pulled her along. They chose the first and second floors. Seeing what the veterans did, the sharper players followed and chose the lower floors one after another. Because of my poor eyesight, I couldn't keep up, so I had to wait until everyone else chose. In the end, only the 30th floor was left for me. Taking advantage of the fact that I couldn't see them, the live stream comments started mocking me again. I reached the 30th floor. After looking around, I realized it wasn't that different from the real world. Sure, the smell of blood was a little stronger, the walls a little redder, the temperature a little colder, and the lights a little darker. But still, this was a huge apartment, and it even came with the family I'd always dreamed of. After all, in the real world, I wasn't just severely nearsighted. I was also an orphan and completely broke. I walked up to the door, reached out without hesitation, and pounded on it. "Open up. Baby, I'm home. If you don't open up, I'm going to starve." The comments were stunned, waiting to see how I'd die. They simply didn't understand how my mind worked. If this was role-playing, and I had to become a family with these entities, then of course I should act as naturally as possible. When you come home in real life, do you really stand outside and politely say, "Hello, is anyone home? Please open the door for me?" As soon as I finished knocking, the door creaked open. A wave of cold air swept over me. I sighed in comfort. This place is basically a summer resort. I wouldn't even need air conditioning. I looked down and saw a small red figure. 2 braids bounced behind her. It looked like a child in a red dress. The child gave me a sinister smile and suddenly lunged at me. Her icy little hands clamped around my throat. I simply pulled her into my arms. Her dress felt soaking wet. A child shouldn't be wearing wet clothes. "Take it off. I'll get you something clean to wear." I sniffed the air. I smelled a scent of blood and asked anxiously, "Are you hurt somewhere? Where's the first aid kit? Quick, Tell me where it is. The live stream comments complained about my naivety. Too bad I can't see those comments. I carried the child inside the house, while helping her out of the red dress. I searched her exquisite princess room and found a new white dress for her to wear. The small hand clutching my neck gradually loosened its grip. Sensing her helplessness, I took a warm towel, leaned in closer, and gently wiped the bloodstains off her face. Only then did I see clearly. She was actually a cute little girl. I smiled and pointed to my face, saying, as family, helping each other is what I should do. But maybe you should give me a kiss to show your gratitude? The little girl shyly tugged at her white dress, quietly leaned toward my face, gave me a quick peck, and quickly pulled away. In a soft, sweet voice, she said, "Thank you, Mommy." What? Mommy? I just became a mom without the pain of childbirth. This is absolutely cool. You see, in real life, I've heard too many stories about women dying on the delivery table. Although I long for a family and love children, my biggest fear is giving birth. Just as I finished soothing the little girl and let her rest for a while, a mechanical voice announced in my ear, "Initial players, 30. Currently surviving, 20. I didn't expect that. Just by choosing a house, 10 players had already died. I opened my phone. It turned out everyone was exchanging info in the player group, like how the other players died. Word has it, some blonde guy tried to force his way into the 3rd floor, but the moment he knocked on the door, he was swallowed whole by an entity. Then, after chewing for a bit, it spat out a few bones still clinging to flesh. Through the half-open door, other players saw a massive pile of bones. They guessed that those might all belong to previous players. Witnessing this, the adrenaline of almost every new player spiked. Now, except for Sister Hong and Brother June, everyone's horror value has hit 50. Of course, none of this has anything to do with me. I stood up, and while the little girl was sleeping, I diligently cleaned the entire house. The red floor tiles were scrubbed by me until they turned white. The dried red stains on the walls simply wouldn't come off, so I took a scraper and scraped them off with force. Once I finished my chores, my back was aching from exhaustion. I collapsed on the sofa next to the little girl and fell fast asleep. When I woke up again, I was enveloped by a freezing aura. A blurry dark shadow stood before me. Although I couldn't see him clearly, the first sentence he spoke completely captivated me. He chuckled in a deep, sexy voice. Interesting. To think you've managed to survive this long with Cece. You'd better not touch her. This mommy is quite intriguing. I'll keep her for my own amusement. The man didn't respond to her. With a wave of his hand, the little girl named Cece was sent flying off the sofa, crashing into the balcony glass. The man sneered, "Who gave you permission to speak to me like that? Do you really think of yourself as my daughter? And who gave you permission to talk to a child like that? What kind of father does that?" I intended to slap the man across the face, but somehow, my hand slipped, sliding down his pectoral muscles, and landing right on his abs. Those chocolate bar 8-pack abs. The feel was absolutely incredible. Seeing the man on the verge of rage, with black aura emanating from him, I hurriedly tried to fix it. "Cece is my little baby, and you're my big baby. We're just a loving family. Actually, hubby, your physique is pretty great. It's just that you look a bit short. It's okay. Now that I'm here, I'll cook delicious meals for you every day. I'll make sure both you and your daughter grow tall." The live stream comments went wild. But the next second, the man leaned in close. "Short? I am a solid 186 centimeters. Why don't you take a closer look?" These days, even for a supernatural entity, as long as he's a man, he cares about his height. Ning Nian. "I suggest you look closely." The man suddenly called my name, and it sounded so good my heart started racing. I suddenly yanked his tie, pulling him down completely on top of me, and whispered, "I can't see clearly. Come closer." Staring at the handsome face magnified right in front of me. Thank goodness. Charm value? This crappy horror game only tracks horror value and luck. It doesn't even track charm. Otherwise, I'd definitely be dead. Seeing the man remain silent, I got worried, immediately nodded with starry eyes, and said flirtatiously, "Wow, you're 186 centimeters.
I'm 166 centymetrów.
The cutest height difference. We're truly a match made in heaven." The man in the suit blushed furiously. Just as he was about to speak, the next second, the blood-clothed loli, who had just put her bones back together, rushed over and kicked the man up to the ceiling, leaving him stuck there. The little girl looked at me. "Mommy. Cece. Hungry. Food. Who could resist that?" I immediately raided the fridge for ingredients, squinting my eyes, and happily scurried off to cook for the little girl and my hubby. My cooking skills are truly no joke. The father and daughter licked the bowls and basins spotless. When I went to the bathroom to shower, I seemed to hear them chatting with such filial affection. "Cece, actually, it's fine to keep this woman. Her cooking is quite tasty." After my shower, I naturally took over the master bedroom. A pair of pale eyes appeared by my quilt, her little face emitting an eerie glow, just like a scene from The Grudge. "Mommy, ignore that headless headless old monster. Tonight, Cece wants to sleep with mommy. Oh, it's just Cece. I pinched her little cheek and pulled her into my arms. As I held her, I somehow drifted off to sleep. What I didn't know was, after I fell asleep, the system suddenly appeared. Attention, player. The entities enter a berserk state at night. Please do not share a room with an entity. The bright white moon outside instantly turned blood red. Even more chilling was that Cece's originally white dress hem was suddenly soaked in a thick, dark red, sticky red liquid kept dripping from her dress onto me. She let out a giggling laugh. A pale, rotting hand suddenly reached out from under the bed, gripping me tightly. Are you the 31st mommy tricked into coming here? What I didn't know was, Cece stayed by my side, awake all night, clinging to me, gazing at my sleeping face. Her dress turned red, then white, then red again. Then she whispered softly, "Mommy will be sad. I can't let mommy be sad." The live stream comments flooded the screen in alarm. Damn, Ning Nian is so gentle. This new player actually changed the blood dress Lolita's role to mommy. Now I want to call her mommy too. She's got skills. The next day, I was woken up by a mechanical announcement. Initial players, 30. Currently surviving, 15. Dazed, I picked up my phone and saw the player group discussing that 5 more people died last night. 2 of them, who knows what they went through, had their horror levels hit 100 and were gone. I suddenly received a private message from Sister Hong.
Wechat, Ning Nian.
Are you okay? For the first 3 days, as compensation, you must hurry up and win over your family. As compensation. This is the information I have. Consider it compensation for you. Brother June suddenly interrupted Sister Hong on the other end. Why tell these new players? Meeting is not easy. Don't be so petty. These 2 veteran players are quite interesting. I smiled slightly, pressed my face to the screen, and replied to Sister Hong. I'm doing great, thanks for the concern. Don't trust them too much. Before he could finish the sentence, he suddenly clutched his chest and collapsed in pain. Cece frowned her little face, supporting him with a worried look. I also rushed over, catching him with my body. Warning, dungeon NPCs are forbidden from revealing specific clear game information to players. Thumping footsteps sounded outside the door, making my eardrums vibrate. Cece hurriedly dove into my arms. Mommy, Grandpa and Grandma are back from the hometown. Don't be afraid. The man, not wanting to be outdone, didn't budge an inch. After a moment's hesitation, he immediately grabbed my hand and pulled me into his embrace. What a pure-hearted big boss. No fear, since I can't see clearly anyway. Anything I can't see clearly is treated as a normal person. I'm actually looking forward to new NPCs appearing to help me clear the game. It seems they are 2 very healthy elderly people. As the key turned in the lock, the live stream comments started arguing fiercely. Then, with a click, the door opened. 2 entities walked straight in. They were slightly hunched over, each dragging a massive woven sack. Seeing the headless boss on the floor, the old woman immediately screamed and rushed over, pushing me aside. You black-hearted, poisonous woman. How dare you hurt my son? I want your life in return. A vengeful ghost demands a soul. I was surrounded by black mist. As I got closer, I finally saw clearly. The old woman was incredibly gaunt, as if only a skeleton remained, barely holding up the clothes. Her facial features were a blurred mess, with only her mouth opening and closing clearly. The exposed skin was completely charred, like charcoal fresh from the kiln. If not for the voice, I would have found it hard to tell that she was a woman. I hurriedly grabbed the old woman's charcoal hand, saying with pity, Mom, why is your skin so dry? I made a cucumber mask for myself last night. Would you like to try some? The cursing old woman froze, then stammered, that actually works. As expected, what woman doesn't love beauty? Seeing me actually bring out a bowl of cucumbers and start applying a mask to her, the old man became displeased. You damn old hag, didn't you say we should give the new daughter-in-law a good scare? So you had a previous wife? The man's face immediately darkened, a thick black mist emanating from him. He summoned a swarm of ghostly claws and took care of the old woman. I finally couldn't hold it in. What a picture of filial piety. The man corked the corner of his mouth at me, the mist around him dissipating as he shrugged. Nope, they didn't even get through the door before Cece killed them. The old hag stood up awkwardly, brushing cucumbers off her face. You old fossil, always talking too much. Now get lost and cook. The old man shut up instantly, dragging a burlap sack and the intestines from his belly, heading toward the kitchen. Everywhere he stepped, the floor turned blood red again. Cece rushed to the old hag's side, politely expressing her refusal. Grandma, I'm sorry, but I think Grandpa's cooking is just awful. Let's just not. Before she could finish, the old man reached into his gut and whipped a length of intestine from the kitchen, swiftly reeling Cece in. Good granddaughter, come and help Grandpa cook. Hee. Dad's sweater is unraveling. Why hasn't he patched it up? By the time the old man finished cooking, I had found my sewing kit. I diligently helped him set the table. Then I grabbed hold of him. Look at you, dragging yarn all over the floor. It must be quite inconvenient. Plus, the yarn is bleeding color. I just mopped the floor yesterday. The four entities looked at each other in confusion. The live stream comments suddenly realized the truth. All this time, Ning Nian isn't brave or strong-willed. She's just blind. I gripped the old man's intestines and started sewing to keep a proper distance between daughter-in-law and father-in-law. I stayed a bit far from him, so I never saw what it actually was. It just felt slimy, so I complained. Why is this yarn still wet, Dad? Did you drop it in the sink while washing vegetables? Ah, I guess so. The old man was a bit bewildered. After I finished sewing his belly, everyone finally sat awkwardly around the table to eat. Seeing no one move, I casually picked up a chicken claw. As I moved it toward my mouth, the four entities stared at me with evil grins. Dear daughter-in-law, this is fresh food your father brought from downstairs today. All died just last night. Downstairs? Huh? What else is downstairs besides dead players? I immediately dropped my chopsticks, pretending to gag while clutching my stomach. Can't eat meat, probably because of last night's passion.
I'm pregnant.
The blood-clothed Lolita looked on, amused. The intestine old man and black old lady were overjoyed and rushed their son to carry me to the room to rest. The headless boss turned beet red, carrying me as he stood up in a panic, whispering a scolding in my ear. You're lying. We clearly haven't. So innocent. He can't even say the words slept together. I took the chance to feel his abs and whispered back, it's okay. If you're willing, we could sleep together right now. The live stream comments exploded in rage. Unfortunately, as soon as we entered the room, the man suppressed his blush and spoke to me with total honesty. I'm sorry, your love for me, although it's been a short time, but I admit, I do have different feelings for you too. It's just that Cece is my child. Even if this is fake, or just a game as you call it, I still hope to get her approval before having a second child. This is my responsibility as a father. I gazed at the hideous scar on his neck, where his severed head was reattached. Is it ugly? No, not ugly at all. Does it hurt? It used to. It doesn't anymore. My fake pregnancy fooled the old couple. Anyway, for the past 2 days, I've been the one cooking, using the groceries the headless boss bought for the fridge. I didn't touch the ingredients in the old ghost's burlap sacks. And to make it believable, starting from the second night, the headless boss and I actually slept together. In the middle of the night, while I was figuring out how to seduce him, a pouting little face suddenly popped out from the covers. Mommy, you don't love Cece anymore. What's so great about Daddy? Cece is the best. As she said this, Cece glared fiercely at the man. I saw Cece's white dress starting to turn red, and the scar on the man's neck expanding. A fierce fight was inevitable. Stop it. Stop fighting. Stop fighting already. I'll just sleep with both of you. For the first 3 days with my husband, the headless boss, and daughter, Cece by my side, I survived safely. According to the system's real-time broadcast, only 12 players are left alive. More than half are gone. I looked at the blood moon outside the window, lost in thought. On the third night, I suddenly received a private message from Sister Hong.
Ning Nian.
Starting tomorrow, you have to visit the neighbors. I heard that only after visiting all the entities on the 30th floor of this building. Can you unlock all the floors? You are on the hardest floor, the 30th. You must help everyone successfully. Visit the entities on the 30th floor. Pity that Mingshin died on the 6th day. Killed while visiting the headless boss. We don't know what will happen on the 7th day. Looking at Sister Hong's caring words and the info she revealed, I replied with complete composure. Thanks. Of course I'm willing to help each other. Since we don't know what happens on the 7th day, let's just focus on completing the next 3 days' tasks. Then I went back to the living room to tell my family I was going downstairs. Before leaving, Cece specifically walked up to the headless boss and said, "Make me angry. I want to turn into a red dress. A white dress has no presence. I won't be able to scare those things later. You just need to focus on being happy. With your father here, who would dare touch your mother? Yeah, if all else fails, I'll use my trump card, rip those out again, and shake them down at their front door." Wait, didn't you read the management rules? As original residents, we can't go downstairs to follow the daughter-in-law for 3 days. While all the entities were at a loss, the headless boss's eyes rolled. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something. He abruptly pulled off his own head, digging and digging into the scar, pulling out a knife handle. Then he gripped it and tugged, pulling out a massive rust-covered cleaver. I caught a glimpse. The 2 elders and the child, seeing the cleaver, screamed and retreated 3 steps. "Nian Nian, take it. No one will dare touch you." A mechanical voice rang out. "Congratulations, player. You have obtained SSSSS-grade item. Cleaver of Love." Ah, this private announcement wasn't broadcasted. He actually went this far for me. The dead most dread the thing that killed them. Yet he deliberately pulled it out and devoutly gave it to me as a weapon. Seeing the man steal the spotlight, Cece immediately rushed into the wardrobe, rummaging through everything, then picked out the cleanest, wrinkle-free white dress in her hands, and rushed toward me and my cleaver, perhaps out of fear. Cece and the white dress in her hands instantly turned blood red. Cece tossed the red dress toward me, and it instantly draped over my body, fitting me perfectly. "Mom, this is a time-crossing dress. Wearing it will protect you. Congratulations, player. You have obtained SSSS-grade item. Angel's gown. Before I could be moved, the old man with the guts ripped open the sweater I had painstakingly sewn for him. Congratulations, player. You have obtained SSS-grade item. Chancellor's guts. The old hag followed suit, decisively ripping off a charred arm. Congratulations, player. You have obtained SSS-grade item. Deadwood Spring. The four big bosses acted in unison, reluctantly escorting me to the stairwell leading down from the 30th floor, holding a pile of items. Looking at the red dress I wore, I was moved to tears. Who says these are horrors from a scary game? Aren't they just my closest, loveliest family? The live stream comments said sourly, just arrived at the 29th floor. I knocked politely. After just one knock, the door opened. From the group chat, I learned the players on this floor had long since kicked the bucket. Inside the door appeared the faces of fraternal twins. They looked like teenagers. They warily looked at the items in my hand, especially that blunt cleaver, then gave me a flattering, tight-lipped smile. You're the neighbor from the 30th floor, right? A visit is a visit. Why would you bring a weapon? That's just too formal, isn't it? This is the visiting card for the 29th floor. Please take it. I pinched the simple card. There was only a small black pattern on it. Impossible to tell what it was. Thank you. Could you invite me in for a cup of tea? I think perhaps we could have a chat about the fate of your mother and your enemies. Yes. When I first entered this horror game, while standing at the bottom of the building, I wasn't just standing there doing nothing. After everyone rushed off to seize the floors, I boredly circled the building 5 times. Finally, in a trash heap shrouded in black mist, amidst a pile of vomit and unknown slime, I dug out a dirty, discarded newspaper. Luckily, this is the old trade of someone from the bottom of society like me. I'm an orphan. The thing I did most as a child was scavenge through trash, to see if there was anything edible or usable, and places like these are easily overlooked by players. They were too hurried to seize floors, never imagining there would be things outside the building. I thought she was hungry. The twins on the 29th floor, the day before their 18th birthday, were tricked onto the rooftop by their own father. Because their father had married into the family, he had always wanted to seize their mother's assets. Finally, to prevent the children from inheriting the estate upon adulthood, the mistress devised this cruel plot. The father nodded in agreement. 3 years after the siblings died, the father and mistress were sentenced to death, to be executed immediately. As for their mother, she closed the company, carrying photos of her 2 children. All alone, she began to travel the world. The tea was finished, and the story came to an end. The twins looked at me with tears in their eyes, their gaze swirling with heartache, relief, and gratitude. They watched as I stood up. After stepping out of the 29th floor's door, I suddenly reached out to brush the dust off their clothes. From this day forward, live your lives well, even in a place like this. As long as you long for each other, one day, you will be reunited with your mother. Seeing them nod firmly, I turned and walked downstairs with a sense of peace. I arrived at the 28th floor. The players on this floor had also long since kicked the bucket, overwhelmed by the sheer power of my items. Oh no, cowering beneath my beauty. The entity on this floor opened the door. The moment I knocked, respectfully handing me a visiting card. She was a young girl wearing an extravagant cosplay outfit, with exaggerated makeup, though her body appeared perfectly intact. I wasn't surprised in the least, because she didn't die in an accident. She took her own life. The year she died, she was 19, in the prime of her youth, but one random incident involving clothes. Back then, she saw a beautiful dress online, so she used an image search and bought the same one. Happily, she took photos and uploaded them to social media. And then, she was met with tens of thousands of hateful comments, saying she wasn't wearing a wig, saying she hadn't applied makeup, saying she had no respect for the 2D world, saying she had disgraced the cosplay community, lowered the standards of cosplay, said she didn't deserve to live. In the end, they targeted her friends and her parents, doxed their personal information. They relentlessly harassed her parents and friends. They even sent her private photos to her parents. The girl panicked and grew terrified. She didn't understand what cosplay was, nor did she understand these circles. She simply thought that dress was beautiful. She just wanted to buy it and wear it. But later, she came to believe that she was somehow guilty, that she should end this sin with death. Even before taking the pills, she was wearing that dress, with a full face of makeup and a wig, looking at the exaggerated makeup and her innocent eyes. I took a makeup remover pad from her room, gently wiping away the heavy makeup, gently guiding her. You were never the one trapped. They were. Do you know, in the years after you passed, those people simply kept living, but they were never truly happy. Some even ended up in mental hospitals, because they were too obsessed. There are no circles here, only life and death. Here, you can wear whatever you want, go barefaced if you wish, or wear heavy makeup if you like. When they eventually die, and happen to end up here, you can torture them relentlessly. Of course, I think even after they die, they don't deserve a second chance. Listening to the aftermath I described, the girl grinned. She slowly drew a pair of double-ring 9-section whips from behind. A bloodthirsty light flickered in her eyes. All right, big sister, I'll be myself. If one day they actually come here, dying by the weapon of the god she reveres, will be their honor. That's more like it. This fits the aura of a 28th floor boss. I arrived at the 27th floor. The entity here is a woman in uniform and makeup, a female leader wearing an apron. It looked quite mismatched. In her hand, she held a little boy whose body had been crushed. Even without reading the newspapers, I knew who they were. Back then, the boy had a car accident at school. In her panic, the mother rushed to school in her work uniform. But malicious people posted it online, calling her heartless for wearing makeup after her son's death, saying her son was dead yet she still had time for makeup, questioning if she had just come from a man's bed. Overwhelmed by grief and unable to bear the pressure of cyberbullying, she chose to jump off a building. In this world, she actually reunited with her child. I was about to comfort this young mother. Unexpectedly, the terrifying little boy suddenly spoke in a milky, childish voice. "Auntie, I've already comforted mommy. I know my mommy. Dressing up is a requirement for her job. As long as mommy is happy, even if she cooks in her work uniform, I'll still think she's a superhero. You're a superhero too. Your superpower is making your mommy happy." Somewhere I couldn't see, the live stream comments were a sea of tears. I continued heading down. I encountered many entities, some familiar and some strange. A boy who died tragically while searching for his parents. A teenager driven to death by school bullying. I chose to counsel them and bring them peace. Over the past 2 days, I've been doing tasks on a strict 9 to 5 schedule, returning to the 30th floor every day. Cece pounces on me like a little kitten, nuzzling her face against mine. She said affectionately, "Mommy, I missed you so much." My heart is melting from her cuteness. Meanwhile, the headless big boss prepares the meal, pulling my hand with a resentful look. Not wanting to be outdone, she whispered, "Actually, I missed you too. Help. A battle between father and daughter, and I'm just enjoying the luxury. Give me more of this. I love it." The live stream comments were full of jealousy. As we kept joking around, time reached the 6th day, and I reached the 10th floor. At that moment, I had collected a pile of visit cards. Actually, from the 20th floor down, the bosses aren't that terrifying. I found a few surviving players, but none of them dared to cross me, nor did they get the chance to help me clear the neighbors, because these neighbors are very welcoming, and quite cute too. They opened the doors for me, and hand over the visit cards voluntarily. Later, they started accompanying me to visit other neighbors. We headed down together, and arrived at the 10th floor. Just as we reached the 10th floor, we saw a 2-meter-tall figure, a dog-headed monster standing in the corridor. The door was wide open. Inside were the bleached white bones of players. The dog-headed monster handed us a visit card. I opened my mouth, about to say something. The dog-headed monster suddenly faced me, leaning down slightly. Even with my severe nearsightedness, I could see the scraps of meat between its canines. There was even a human finger stuck there. "Human girl, don't think those 4 on the 30th floor can always protect you, that I will fear you. At least in this matter, I will never compromise. Anyone who stays on the 10th floor never leaves alive. For your sake, I can give a visiting card to anyone I approve of. Humans who look tolerable. Don't dream of more." I fell silent, struggling to hold back the eager kitchen knife, quietly soothing someone. There, don't be angry. A real man doesn't fight with a dog." Only then did the kitchen knife settle down huffily. The grudge between the dog-headed monster and humans might go back even further than his human life. But to the reality of today, some humans brutally abuse cats, dogs, and other animals. That's why in this world, a dog-headed monster appeared, only on the 10th floor.
Slaughtering humanos.
Sounds like a fair trade, doesn't it? When will this slaughter end? When will humans stop their abuse of animals? Suddenly, a piercing scream for help echoed from downstairs. "Look at you despicable humans. They don't just hunt other entities, they kill their own kind too," starting to tear each other apart again. At the same time, the screams downstairs stopped. A mechanical voice announced, "Initial players, 30. Surviving players, only 5 remaining." The 2 new players and I looked at each other in shock. One of them was the schoolgirl who had been crying at the bottom of the building. That's 3 of us here, which means, from the 9th floor down to the 1st, only 2 others survived. A bad feeling washed over me. I opened my phone. The player group chat was deathly silent. I took the lead, the schoolgirl followed closely, and the fitness coach covered the rear. The three of us carefully made our way down. Just as I stepped onto the 9th floor, a transparent dome descended over us. Simultaneously, a man and a woman stepped out from behind the wall. They held flashy firearms, with arrogant smiles on their faces. Hand over all your visit cards, and we'll make you just like those fools downstairs and get rid of you. It was Sister Hong and Brother June. From the very beginning, Sister Hong and Brother June played good cop and bad cop, trying to win the players' trust. Sister Hong had sent me a private message, but she left out the second half. Mingxin didn't die in vain back then. At least he provided subsequent players with a strategy for the game up to the 6th day, allowing as many players as possible to survive until the 4th day. In reality, you don't necessarily need a guide or neighbors to get all the visit cards, because not every player is as lucky as I am to suddenly possess so many high-damage items to intimidate the entities. So, there is another way: plunder and devour. Starting from the 4th day, if player A kills player B, player A will also obtain the visiting card for the entity on B's floor and inherit all the visit cards that player B already possessed. Therefore, it's just like raising pigs. As long as A fattens up the pig called B, while B remains weaker than A, it can simply swoop in and take the prize. And all of us were just pigs being raised by Hong and June. I accidentally became the pig king. Forget that. To put it bluntly, in the rules of this horror game, mutual slaughter is permitted and even encouraged. This time, Hong and June miscalculated. I unbuttoned my coat, revealing a long red dress. From beneath the hem, I pulled out the Headless Boss's cleaver. Intestines, withered hands. Tell me, how exactly do you plan to kill me? I swung the cleaver casually. S-rank protective shield. Shattered and destroyed. Hong and June's faces began to crack inch by inch, until finally, they collapsed completely to the ground. I was wrong. I just wanted to be resurrected so badly. Please, don't kill us. Spare our lives. I showed no mercy. Ignoring their pleas, I simply asked coldly, the players downstairs begged you like this too, didn't they? Did you let them go? Ah. Cutting flesh with a dull blade, slice by slice, they could be hacked to death. But the blade hadn't even touched them yet. Seeing that SSSSS rank item flying toward them, Hong and June's horror values spiked instantly to 100. Their bodies exploded. Their souls were shattered. Not even a trace of blood remained. I cradled the steaming cleaver in my arms, whispering to soothe someone, there, don't be angry. I'm not hurt. I took the visit cards Hong and June had collected by killing their companions and gave them to the schoolgirl and the coach. Now they can visit the entities on floors 20 to 30. If the entities target you, just tell them you're friends of Ning Nian from the 30th floor. Tell them she sent you to collect the cards. I believe, after all the heartfelt talking I've done with those entities, they should be able to do me a small favor. The schoolgirl and the coach were overwhelmed with gratitude, bowing to me repeatedly. I quickly stepped aside. It felt like the three of us were dancing a tango. I headed down alone, collecting the visit cards I needed. Going further down became even easier. Soon I had collected almost all of them, but the game notification didn't sound in my ear. I knew I was still missing the most critical one, the card for the 30th floor, the story of the 30th floor. But I'm no fool. From our time together these past few days, I already knew their stories. They truly were once four completely unrelated strangers. Cece was a little girl who, after school on a rainy day, kindly held an umbrella for a grown man, only to be harmed and murdered. Old Man Chong was a man falsely accused of being a pervert on a bus, but out of concern for the girl's safety, he put aside the grudge to help her subdue the real villain, only to have his own stomach stabbed through. His intestines spilled all over the ground. The old hag's neighborhood caught fire. Her son knew exactly how to use the extinguishers and equipment, but because the hydrant was dry, he had to watch with his own eyes, as his mother was burned alive. The Headless Boss was the biological son of a member of a massive cult, a graduate of a prestigious university. He had barely escaped his toxic family, but his parents had been brainwashed. Hearing that eating their son's brain marrow granted immortality, they took advantage of his vulnerability and used a dull knife to hack off their son's head, truly intending to crack the bone for the marrow. And the fact that I could reunite with them here, forming this strange and awkward family, perhaps wasn't an accident. In fact, the day before my car accident, I had just received my salary. Skipping along past a cemetery, for some reason, a sudden whim struck me. I went to a nearby flower shop and bought 4 bouquets, randomly picked a few graves, and left them for the deceased. I remember the names on those 4 tombstones. They were Gin Sisi, Lu Aigua, Li Quilan, Wu Ming. So that's it. He really is nameless. Back on the 30th floor, I returned to my old self, laughing carelessly once again. When I reached the entrance, the door was open. It made sense. From the moment I left, this door had never been locked. They had been waiting for me to come home. In the living room, People of all ages sat with smiles on their faces. They had prepared a feast and brewed my favorite tea. A few of them took my hand, guiding me to sit as if I were the center of their world. Then, with beaming smiles, they said, "Your two friends just came up, and we've already given them the visiting cards." Thinking of everything they had done for me, I was moved to my very core. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. Let's be a real family for just one day.